All right, so we talked about this last night, Mark, but because you are not here and because I'm sure that you probably forgot, I'm just going to do a general recap for you. We're going to go through your basic dichotomy of your laning. So this game you went poke Xayah. I definitely think it's more efficient to go attack speed, especially against somewhat of sustainability fights. So like Fiora, even Shyvana to some extent, but mainly Fiora and Sylas. Xayah does like wholeheartedly counter the Jinx here, and it's very, very oppressive in lane, and I like how you played it. But it could be better, and I'm gonna kind of talk about some stuff that I did notice here that could be better. Sorry, let me just load up my app here, because I know we talked about this to a huge extent as well last night, and I kind of just want to see this. So on this play here, what happens is that they end up invading here, and you guys have a perfect response here. Naturally, you always want to run down here, especially in the point of a 5-point, and I really like how you did this. If they have kept on approaching, Senna is at a further, loss here because she has to fully run out, whereas you're already directly in the lane, and that is perfect. But what is not perfect is that you actually ended up staying here, and because you stay or delay your back at least, you're just awkwardly here in the situation where, when we're looking at, leash potential, we're 40 seconds out at this point, and you're about maybe, let's say, 85%-ish, I want to say, health, and I'd say maybe even 75% mana, and that is not efficient at all for Xayah, especially a champion who's going to be poking with your summoner area on your Q. And then you cancel it too. I don't know why you canceled it. Sure, you can get passive regeneration in lane, and a lot of people will probably tell you that, hey, this point is fine, it's whatever. But when we're talking about, using whatever we have, our resources wise, I definitely think that it's always going to be more worth for you, especially if you can get that early back off. You were 40 seconds out of a leash. It's not like you have nothing to run to immediately. This is fine, great, leaving at 900. Senna kind of back steps, but immediately goes. This is really good as well, just checking this bush. But again, because you did not go back, now this one Q is worth double the mana essentially. And now you're just going to be kind of playing without that Q, and you're also on kind of a little bit of thin ice here because you have no idea where they are. And we talked about this point as well. So I'm gonna just kind of slow it down here, and right here. Right, so this is what I was talking about last night with the general line here. So when we're talking about bot lane, we think of bot lane as different sectors. When we're talking about different sectors, it's mostly in terms of wave management. So when we're talking about, towards our tower, we're able to freeze past this kind of fissure line here. This is the middle of the map, of course, or middle of the lane rather, and then this is their side. So anything even slightly above, you can still kind of control this, but it's not going to be super efficient as compared to where these lines are. So I really like how you kind of position yourself here, looking to get this first 3 waves, because no duh, you obviously want first 3 wave gold. But when it comes to these melee minions, what ends up happening is that, you ideally should be staying behind this line here. So you should use these casters as your kind of reference point, because in the event that Brand now wants to walk up, a champion that is efficient on poke, he needs to walk all the way up in order to actually land his W on top of you. Otherwise, he's not going to be able to do it. He could just get it from here as well, but it is going to kind of somewhat be closer. So generally, he has 2 paths of entry. He has 1 or 2 from the left or the right. And when we're, kind of sitting back here, CSing with the Qs, it's super efficient because he's not really getting anything out of this. All you need to do is you need to double Q these 2 minions, and then you can follow that up with just a single auto here, and you get the first 3. But we're gonna see what happens in a second. So you're zoned off because he moves back, and then you just get 1 out of 3. You see what I mean? It kind of plays out in real time where the Brand does get that W, but at the same time, you're just not able to efficiently farm the wave. I'm going to show you a little bit of a trick here as well that we were talking about last night. I'm going to speed up. I'm going to slow it down here. Right here. So at this point, this is kind of a split-second thing as well. You should recognize that you're going to get hit by this no matter what. There is no way that you can break this or break this in time. So my best course of action here, if I'm the Xayah, and if I can, think about these things consciously, or I kind of know the situation, what I'm doing instead is I'm walking up, and I have two choices here, or rather three choices actually. So I can Q this line right here, and then my Q will actually hit Brand. What I can end up doing is I can also look for, I can also walk up and then look for this. And I might be able to just kind of poke her out and trade. It's not going to be super efficient, but at least you get something out of this. I can trade somewhat with the Jinx. Sure, she has rockets, but your Q will kind of do more. And she's fixated on the wave. The way that she's kind of posturing as well. Base attack speed on those rockets are going to be incredibly slow, so there's no way of her just canceling her target instantly that fast, as compared to how fast your Q actually does go out. See, that's kind of how this plays out, this whole situation. So you're really not getting anything out of that W. Essentially, the general rule of laning is, especially when we're talking about poker trades, if you're getting dealt damage, try to deal damage as well to make it efficient. You know, right now they're just poking you guys out. And sure, you have a Senna, but now even going further, Senna is kind of getting poked out. And then you end up using the Q anyways on just one minion, so it's not like it's an efficient Q at all either. And so far at this point, you have 4 minions, but you're sitting at about 65% mana. This is really good here. You just want to control the wave. You want to look for a pick here. You especially have level 2. But the second that it's this far out, it's just not worth it. Because you already missed, you know, 3 minions prior. On first wave, you should have farmed first wave super efficient here. But now we're talking about second wave. And you miss 1 here. And then you miss the second here. Just for this trade. And this trade is whatever, but he's already zoned off. He has pots. He's going to hit level 2, and he's going to essentially come back to 65% at most. You know, this Q trade is good and all, and you're still in XP range. But I think that you really need the gold here, especially since you are playing such a cost-efficient and cost-snowball-y champion like the Poke Zyra. If you can build into your Mythic as soon as possible, just do it. But we're going to talk about kind of situations here where you could have had an item advantage, but you just didn't back in time, or you just kind of teeter-tottered around more or less. The Senna's doing her own thing, looking for poke here. There's not much you can do in terms of looking at the rest of the map. You get cannon here, and at this point, yeah, nice little Q there. You should immediately shove this in and crash. Sure, your minions are going to get caught up here. They're going to move forward and then crash into the wave. There is no way for Jinx to save this, because even these 3 casters have to walk up right after this cannon is done. And when we're even talking about, you know, caster range, they essentially had to walk up right here on that line. Not directly in that spot, but in terms of range to hit this tower. And so they naturally will kind of get that focus at the tower. And so that wave will reset. And when we're talking about lane in general, by the time you would come back here in the situation that you backed, your lane would essentially bounce to somewhere around here. But we're going to see what happens. You guys go over here. I'm not sure if you guys even warded. You guys did not have a ward, so there's no point essentially in you not being here. Even if you do want to stay, just keep poking. This is your time to poke, because she has to stick onto the wave, and unless he wants to move forward and feel the full fury of Senna, you know, there's nothing kind of deterring him from getting poked. Now it's essentially you can trade off for those bad early brand W exchanges. So in this situation, I wholeheartedly would have backed it as well. You're sitting on 400 gold, which is essentially a longsword. You also could kind of stick around if you really wanted to, just for an extra like 5 seconds-ish, just to get pink ward. Alternatively, if you're really balls to the walls, instead of the longsword, since you already do have kind of a lot of poke in the Q and base longsword, what you could have done was just get boots, and then that way you would never get hit by the brand W again. Yeah, so this wave is really weird now, because now you're forced to shove it in on 3 casters. And sure, you can shove this in, but now again, you are at range of jungle. We talked about this last night as well. Jungle has full access because you guys have no vision control at all at separate points into the map. Your jungler lost out on early scuttle, So that means that she pretty much has a free path towards bot, and so you can't afford to do these like will I not situations. You need to hard crash this wave and then reset, just so that you mitigate any type of preventative measure. Like, this is a perfect time for you to back here. Like, just stick to it. And you cancel a little bit early, and now you're going to be playing this lane 1v2 because Senna was successfully able to get hers off. Sure, you cancel last second and then you call for help, but this is a perfect example of a cheater. Your waves are both fresh here. Your wave did not touch hers. You have a little bit of damage on top of the tower. They're chunked out here. They essentially are tethered to this lane, whereas you have full access, and you cancel your back here. Senna's gonna cancel hers in this, or sorry, is gonna get hers off successfully. And in the event that you did back, you're gonna come back to at least 3 casters and the cannon being alive here, unless they decide to hard push. And if they decide to hard push, you still have Fiddle who can carry over and kind of hold your wave. Like, Fiddle just needs to enter and hold your wave, or can just literally tank it and then just absorb with his W to lifesteal low. But more or less, the wave should be in a really good spot for you. I think you just lose 2 minions. You're going to lose this minion, of course, and then this minion. But that's about it. Your cannon would still be alive in that situation. And you'd also have a huge buy. She's sitting on more gold than you, so meaning that she's going to have a better back than you. And the wave is going to be in a way better spot for her too, because after this, I think wholeheartedly she should be backing. Yeah, but because you're in this situation here, you're getting zoned by Brand too. So you're not really getting anything out of canceling your back, because now your cannon's all the way up there. Your second wave has now approached, and now, you know, let's say even if you do get this cannon, it's not super worth for you, because you could have gotten that naturally. Or again, Fiddle could have just covered and he could have broken this freeze. Because now you are still in lane with your base longsword. You know, you're down 10 CS at this point, just because of naturally reversing attack speed into, you know, poke. And then Senna also just got a back off. So now, excuse me, now your back tempo timers are completely off. You generally want to back with support in lane, just so that you can both arrive to lane. Same XP. Sure, you get a little bit of an XP lead here in terms of Senna. But, you know, you're going to hit 6 a lot faster, and when they recognize that you have the Feather Storm, they're going to look to Senna, who does not. And since Senna does not, and since Senna is more or less, you know, the aggressor in this lane, the frontliner, it's super efficient for them as a team, especially the Brand, to just constantly target Senna over again, even if she is able to heal minuscule amounts of damage off of that Q. But again, you're tethered to lane at this point as well. I was mentioning that you should have just popped that pot, just so you're at maybe 60%. There's no point in just sticking around, especially if you just kind of want to constantly look up and poke. Sure, Senna can also heal you, and that's all dandy. But then, you know, you still have to deal with the jinx. You still have to deal with so much. So this is kind of how your game, like how your lane went, because now you are completely chained up here into the bot lane. You can't do anything. You know, Shyvana has taken the dragon, so now you can't even push it because you're at danger. And this is another great point here. You don't see Brand for such a long time because he actually got a back off, and because he got a back off, you guys have no idea where he is. The second this fails, by the way, like her W fails and then he's no longer in this bush, I personally would ask my support to ward this, or I would just ward this. And if this is not, you know, housing Brand here, who had minuscule amounts of HP or mana, who won't kill you, by the way, if you just walk up and ward that, you're perfectly fine. You are perfectly fine, because then at least you get a good read of things. And this is great. This is a great wave shove-in, but this could have happened a lot of times earlier, where you had a full cannon wave, where you had, you know, 5 to 4 minions that could have just got shoved, but you just didn't. And now you finally do get your first back. You get a serrated Dirk, Crystal, and then some boots. I really like that buy. I was mentioning that you could just buy into Lucidity in general, especially if you don't think that you're going to be poking them. You're just kind of looking to poke out for CS, since you're going to get zoned anyways. Yeah, this is good. You need to stay more towards the left side, but you also need vision control. And you also have a pink here, so feel free to put that pink down and then just kind of wait around towards that left side of the lane. I'm pretty sure Senna's... Okay, no, never mind. Brand should die here. Oh, you don't have E because you used it on the wave earlier. That's unfortunate. If you have E, Brand is dead. Yeah, and now you're back at it off of that reset. Now at this point, you need to hold a freeze because they can't do anything other than poke. And even if they do poke, feel free to ping your jungler, right? This is a completely normal state in which I would literally say, yo, help me guys. Like, we are here. We need some help bot. Like, there's no reason why the Brand, who is at 40% here, should be able to do this freely. You know, you guys need to kind of turn on the jets. Sure, he has 6, but you have no wave to fight in, so it's not going to bounce on anything other than you two, and even then, that's going to be minuscule just bouncing on 2. But your main worry is, where is Jinx? Where's Jinx? You have this ward that I'm pretty sure just spotted out the Jinx on reset. And even then, if she's not walking up all the way over here, then you can safely assume that she's backed. Not always, but just in this circumstance. Yeah, and now you're gonna kind of freeze in the middle of the lane, which again, it's kind of deadly, especially against a Shyvana who can enter from far lengths, but I digress. Yeah, okay, so you just shoved that wave in, you're sitting at 757 gold. That would have been enough for lucidity. You could have just got a back off and then immediately ran the lane. At the same point, you could have bought some more health pots, because now you're up CS. She just came back to lane at the same time you crashed that wave in. She has Noon Quiver. She's obviously going to go Zerker second because she has 1 dagger and boots. So she's looking just to get 500 gold and dip a Rooney out of there to go get her cash money prize. But yeah, Lucidity's rush would have been great here. You unfortunately end up going down. There's not much you can do there. You get that back off. Fiddle cleans this up. And your wave is back in a really good spot. And again, you did exactly what I just said. You got the Lucidity anyways, but by the time you got it, you know, you already had died for it. This is great, getting Scuttle here, especially when jungle can't. This is great as well, spotting out Shyvana. You know that they're going to do Dragon here. But you have to be careful on this situation, because you're constantly poking out Brands, so you need to be wary of Shyvana, because again, she can just jump over, and that's exactly it. You don't respect the Brand here, and because of that, you die. You get poked out with the Jinx W, you get zapped here. The flash, the second he flashes, don't ego. Just try to dodge. Like, you don't have flash, so you're gonna get hit by 2 ults here, and you insta-die to the Jinx rocket. But you need to be in a position of power. You can't be looking out, and there's nothing even to contest here. You're not contesting anything. At most, you're just poking, and your poke is not going to be super efficient, especially when they have 1 and 2 on the way. They're on the way back. Also, on champions that are trying to rush Eclipse, so MF, you know, poke Xayah, maybe even to some extent Varus, you want to make sure that you are building into the Mythic again as soon as possible. You can kind of stray away in the sense that you go Lucidity in certain engages and things like that, but if you can, just rush the living hell out of Vampiric Scepter so you have enough sustainability in team fights, and just getting that Serrated Dirk. You'll actually have a chip on your shoulder. But again, like I said earlier, this was definitely an attack speed game, especially into the Jinx here, especially into the sustainability fights. And then reset. There's no point of you staying here. Jinx has full HP, and you're just staying here for nothing. Don't greed for waves. But I think that's about it. I mostly want to talk to you about that, because I know you had a few questions from last night. But I hope this helps. Just main takeaways is pushing when you can. When you don't have vision of players, you do need to play with a kind of a notion of respect, but you guys had a lot of vision control in the bot lane, so it's not like you never know where they are, especially if they're nowhere close to any wave that you're freezing. If they're not near a wave that you're freezing, just shove it. And even then, let's say you do shove in this situation and oh shoot, they come back and they're holding my wave right here and now they've frozen it. You're poke Xayah. You do a lot of damage from long range. It's the same aspect as if you were Jinx, you were Caitlyn, or you were Ezreal. You have so much poke ability and you have so much potential just to delete this back wave that they can't hold a freeze efficiently because you are killing their minions faster than they are killing yours. But yeah, like I said, that's going to be the end of the video. Hope this helps, bro. Let me know if you need more coaching. Have a good day. Peace.